We are going into the game this time, ladies and gentlemen. No more dilly-dallying, unlike at the opener of the last map. Straight into the action we go. But Wildcard, again, regimented, overly so. Feels like an old approach to a new game, and that approach is fundamentally flawed. If Wildcard can't approach this one with more adaptability and more flexibility in mind, then it is going to go the way of M80 2-0. M80 starting on the CT side of their own map pick again. Map advantage in their favor. Wildcard a play, a split in towards A. Rek the first at bat. Falls away. Makes and Rek each finding one. Stanislaw does trade, finding at least something in response. But M80 more than content to go over this retake straight through CT and Temple. Infinite. I like this angle on the box, but he needs support, and right now there's not a lot of it. Two players donut and Infinite on an island. He'll have to find it all. Making out good swing, good timing on the first to start things off. Slide through the smoke, finds Swisher. That's a boon they can't afford to squander. Infinite finds yet another jump up on the box, and the last alive now is Slacks. Racing around, he'll find one, but time is now beginning to become a factor. He's gonna try to tap the bomb, but he has no idea where it's planted. He's trying to find it out of desperation, but time is falling by the wayside. He'll find one, he'll tap it, but he can't get the kill, and time is simply not something he can afford to squander. It is a round for Wildcard this time around. The bomb does go off, and they emerge with the pistol round now in the opener of map number 2.
Well, they needed a pistol round, and they got their pistol round. Now they just have to start a string of rounds in a row. You can't let M80 get this one return. You can't start the war of attrition. You can't start the force buy wars. You have to start something strong here if you're going to turn that momentum around from such a disastrous map number 1. It is the force buy from M80, double MP9s, a scout for Slacks, and double deagles. Mobs on a deagle is never an easy character to deal with, so something to keep an eye on is Mobs with his 50 caliber hand cannon. A mid play from Wildcard, I do think is a smart idea, trying to take the ranged fights with their rifles when they know M80 will be significantly underpowered. Manx gets one on the jump spot, but it's going to be much of a mid surrender for M80 and more of a sight hold. And a lot of work for Swisher and for Rek here. And the deagle from Swish is not even going to get anything. He looks the wrong way. Infinite drive-bys Rek. And it's save your gun time for M80. And Manx will not even be allowed to do that as Sonic pressures forward. A great little punish on the exit. And Wildcard all these guns from the hands of M80, and this is the aggression we needed to see from the group. We find nothing here. That'll be the case, and Mobs, he's in cave. It'll probably become his tomb.
Very likely at this point. They actually circumvent caves. They don't force the issue. So Mobs slinks into Jaguar. I'll let one player save a weapon for the following. It's just the deagle. It's not really consequential. M80 going to be another save in this one. Some pistols at most. Slacks has 3550. That's so we can get an op going forward. Save all that money for the rifle round proper. Do we see a shred of investment beyond that weapon that Mob saved? The answer is yes. I think one nade. Maybe it was dropped on the ground. It looks like no one's invested a dime on M80. Wildcard. 4 rifles and a MAC-10 for Stanislaw. One of those rifles being an AK on Slight as well, who's started off far better on this map than he did on the first. Wildcard showing us that maybe they do have some tricks up their sleeve. It's not necessarily on their own map pick.
It's a full stack B, a full push A from Wildcard, slow and steady from the T's, but not stalling like they were on Nuke. There's purpose behind the movement. And so the pistol flood will rotate in. No reason to not go for this if you are M80. Get a couple of kills here if you're lucky. Just throw bodies at the problem. It's pretty much the solution here. There's one from Slight down bottom mid. He might just swing in for more or find himself a victim of the pistols, takes half his HP and damage, and retreats out. Stanislaw looking to build a bank with the MAC-10 will charge on through. Over in red, Slacks gets domed. Mobs falls elsewhere. Wreck. You will get one at least, but it's only the MAC-10, so it doesn't really matter in the end. And a 3-0 start for Wildcard, the best possible start for them here. Before we get into an actual gun round, their money looking quite good on the T side. And M80, a necessary round to win, and they have to do it clean.
They'll get the ball rolling on this CT side. Flax has his op. He's been saving up for it. M4 A1S is surrounding. Wildcard, though, have an op of their own on Slight. Challenge. Slacks. Aggression in the middle is the call for M80. Note they have the utility to support it. Stanislaw, though, it's a call for aggression elsewhere. He catches the up, getting overly assertive in towards A main. And that is the site cracked wide open. Plant will go down. Wildcard's gimmicky, aggressive call to go A main and stack it early pays dividends. As they have secured a 5 versus 4 and solid post-plant positions to boot.
And Nate, what's the biggest thing we're seeing from Wildcard's T side here versus Nuke?
Aggression.
It's the complete opposite of how they played Nuke.
Yeah, they were far more coy, far more defaulty. Let's keep our options open. Let's go slow. Let's play for picks. Just a wide net. Combine your forces. We create a clear point of contact, a clear point of aggression, and to have a clear end game in mind. These things are far more convincing. 4 players from M80 will attempt to save. They will successfully do so at that. 1 player on Wildcard falls in the dying embers of the round that is infinite falling, but he can easily replace his weapon given the cash in the coffer. 4-0 start for Wildcard. They have already tied their performance on map number 1. The difference is they have momentum behind them. They've looked different. They've had a fundamentally different approach to this map, as you so astutely highlighted, Boggs. And from here, like a far more fearsome foe to be reckoned with.
And now M80 are taking the aggression to opening pick down middle. Nade damage as well aplenty, but a trade back for JBA. Swisher, however, with the wall spam. His play from Jaguar, always strong. And M80 looking like they want to get their first round of the board here in number 5 of this half. Start a swing here back into their favor. One interesting thing to note, Nate, is that M80 are significantly CT-sided on Ancient, and Wildcard in their 2 games are significantly T-sided on Ancient. So, yes, there's a very small sample size, but it just goes to show what Wildcard like on this map. And M80, they play pretty standard. Defense is stronger for them. They're going to have to pick up the pace here because 0-4 start is not looking good for M80. They need at least 6 out of this half, and I would say 7 is a bare minimum. This round, though, if they can keep it to only 1 casualty, will go a long way to establishing a foundation to build on the CT half.
M80, slow starts plaguing them yet again. We talked about it in the green room. We neglected to mention it on broadcast, but one of their chief issues is those slow starts. They adapt well in the mid-round, but this one is an 0-4 start. Good swing from Slacks, finds 1, and the second falls shortly thereafter. He said they needed a round on the board ASAP, and they needed a convincing one at that. This is one such victory. 4 players survive. They get some upgrades as well. They keep the op in play. Now, find more off of this. Build an economy. Come back into it. Wildcard still have money to work with. They'll have to lose this one and the next to really have their money broken. And M80 are far from out of the woods in this one.
Very far from out of the woods. They are still completely in the woods, Nate. There's trees everywhere. There's a Sasquatch roaming around. And Manx gets taken down early. A good flash supporting from Infinite. As Sonic will take down the in-game leader of M80. Backstab for Swish, but he's caught by JBA. Only 1. But that 1 kill is critical. It at least makes this round somewhat winnable, but only for a brief moment, as Mulbs is 100% traced by JBA. What a spray from him. The young gun firing again for Wildcard. And now it's up to Stanislaw to get this opening kill on the Slacks on the site, and that will secure the round. Nothing Rek can do here. Slacks just caught with utility in hand. Stanislaw, no holds barred aggression. And Wildcard, they learned a lesson from Nuke, Nate. A lesson they have taken to heart. And boy, has learning that lesson made their Ancient look like what we thought their Nuke was going to look like.
Yes, it has. Now we finally have a series on our hands, perhaps. Rek going to try and save his gun. He should do so successfully as well. He's all the way back in towards Temple. No one's even close for Wildcard. They're more keen on saving their weapons and building an economy for the following, for the future. They will do so successfully. Again, don't let the overlays fool you. This is the pick of M80. Map 1 was the pick of Wildcard. Those are flip-flopped. Wildcard stealing away their opponent's pick in 13-4 fashion as well. Hate to nitpick all of the issues being seen, but set the record straight. And a tactical pause coming in from M80. None too soon either. They have to reinvest most of the money they built into this one. They cannot afford to let the momentum slip yet again. They need to find rounds. You mentioned 6 was what they were realistically requiring. They need to win 5 of the next 6 rounds to make that a reality. Tall task ahead of them.
Very tall task. And this CT half is yet to get off the ground. They barely got the engine started, then it stalled out. Meanwhile, Wildcard are just making strafing runs on the airstrip. So far, it's looking like a completely reversed image from what we saw on Nuke. Manx is going back aggressive down middle. Good flashbangs, good counter utility from Wildcard. They've adapted well to that one round where the mid-aggression netted one for M80. Nate does a little bit of chip damage. Mulbs, dangerous there. Spotted, not removed yet. Flashbang's huge. Mulbs can't pick up one. That is a massive blunder. They needed at least one, preferably 2 from that flash spray support. And now Slacks gets flamed out of position. Infinite mows him down. Swisher's trying to come through to help, but he's got spammed to the wall. All 3 remaining M80 players are in the vicinity of the B site. They're going for the retake. There's low HP on the players on Wildcard. But Slight, nice little op shot, makes it even better. Swisher's finished off, and Manx, what can he do besides run? Nothing. All of that damage, and not a single kill to show for it. Complete and utter disaster for M80 here. 1 kill, okay, it's stay alive time now. It doesn't even matter anymore. It's not even an economic boon, because Wildcard had plenty of money. The half is nearing its end. This has been a resurgence. And the finisher. That's even better.
M80, their money's virtually reset. They can scrounge together a buy if they really, really want to. But they'll be lacking on utility and lacking on some riflery. We see another timeout very quickly after the first from M80. They are feeling the pressure, and rightly so. We are going to see a buy come through. An op present for the likes of Slacks, dropped over by Manx. M4 for Rek, MP9 for Mulbs. That can work in towards Jaguar/Caves. That buy, as unfortunate as it is to see, it does make sense to be in his hands. Manx and Swisher, what's the call for them? I had to guess Slacks dropped the rifle to Manx, and Swisher should be able to get a rifle of his own. Moss for Swisher. Manx, what are you going to go with? It's got to be on the ground. We'll see momentarily. The tactical pause has expired. Wildcard. Stock standard. Opt for Slight for AK surrounding. The fullest of full utility. And again, the wind in their sails. Momentum firmly in their favor. The analysis that we put up. The dire straits we painted Wildcard to be in were in fact none so dire.
Done so dire. There's a lot of damage, but the kill goes the way of Wildcard. It's Slight again on the op on the T side of Ancient. Mobs, however, will take down the in-game leader of Wildcard to bring it to a 4v4. Flashed in, JBA also mowed down. That's good supportive play from Slacks, playing over on the B site now. He was punished early on, going aggressive on A. They swap things up, and now up to Wreck. Caught, distracted by the smoke. In comes Slacks. Lets the op ring, and it does sing. Sonic, 18 HP, Slight supporting from Donut. Bomb planted bare minimum. 3v2 retake for M80. No utility at all. That's a problem, but that is not a problem for M80 as Malbs delivers a killing blow. And the up duel won by Slacks. Off the back of the timeout, M80 are able to capitalize on another round victory, but still such a long road back into this half, Nate. They've made their own lives very difficult on the M80 side. Wildcard look dangerous despite their disadvantages.
Yes, they do. Trap is far from over, though. I feel like M80 finally getting the ball rolling, perhaps. That was another convincing round victory, but still tenuous victory. Probing required a lot of individual prowess, specifically from the MP9 of Malbs. Trying to pair over towards B ramp. Wildcard. What is the response now? If they can win around, they can easily reset. Whenever M80 are trying to build Wreck. Time is everything here. It's going to be a straight A play. He's tucked in. He's cleared. He dodges the flash that doesn't come through. Slacks on backside. Forced to fall away. Does find one in transition. Doesn't flick up for the second either. Instead, he'll hold his angle. A third secured for Slacks. They're going one at a time. A fourth secured. The last alive is Sonic in towards Donut. He's spotted. Swisher does him in. And what could have been a disastrous round on A is instead a convincing shutout by the op of Slacks.
And now Slacks has come alive for M80. A little late for a CT opper, but better late than never right now for M80 as every round is necessary for them at this point. Holding down the A site. One by one, the Ants went marching in, and one by one, Slacks met them with one shot from the AWP. Fantastic work from him. And a good wake up now. Swisher blinded in Jaguar. They're going to push him, and he will punish the first. Sprays wildly for the second. Stanislav falls as well. JBA in stand, dead to Swisher. Slacks comes in, but Slight has the op duel by a slight off angle. Malbs playing around the cave entrance as well. They know where he likes to move, and he's going to take a bit of an off angle. Swisher now taking up that position. Rotation from Wreck coming through CT as well. 3v4. Wildcard, not a lot of utility left to work with, plenty of time, but surely no aggression from M80 as they can't afford to go for another pick. And they can't afford to lose another to Slight's op, just poised to pick another off.
Don't give it to Slight. He's at a heater of a map. He's top of the board for a reason. He's found openings. He's found ways back into maps. Swisher also upgrading his weapon to a sniper rifle. Simply Donut, though, just spotting. Throw a smoke. Sonic's gonna go ahead of it, though, and he'll win the duel. The Galil versus AK duel is one, a critical one to find. Ties the man count up. 3 versus 3. Molotov from Wreck delays the press. Is it going to be commitment towards A? Not necessarily. Players are rotating around slowly but surely. The bomb is still in the middle. It still could rotate back at a moment's notice. Infinite, though, commits to it. Finally runs through. Wreck on site. Off angle secured. He was caught here before, but this time around, it's different. He'll find the first. He knows the second's lurking as well. The steps are heard. Slight on the op. Is he here quickly enough? That's the question. Ooh. No, instead it's Infinite to do the heavy lifting himself. Swings out, finds Wreck, ties it up once more. An AK and an op versus an AK and an op. Swisher, though, is the one with the sniper in hand. Tags Infinite through the box, but doesn't quite secure the kill. And Slight, he is set up and ready. Holding towards Temple. Infinite has to come in big, presses the smoke, finds one. Malbs trades the 1 versus 1. Op versus AK. Malbs knows roughly where he is, or at least he thinks he does. Swinging in, he hears the Molotov, and that does Slight in. The flames lick at his toes, and they give the information required. Malbs gets the kill. Malbs grabs the op, and M80 continue to find rounds, continue to claw their way back into this first half.
At this point, I'm almost poised for a wildcard timeout, although I'd rather they wait for an actual full buy, but this might just be a force up anyways, so Not a bad idea to call the timeout here. They won't. They're going to go for a half buy instead. And if they lose this one, probably call a timeout to the last round of the half. M80 coming back with a vengeance here. Good individual efforts forcing them forward. M80 looking to secure at least an even scoreline going into half number 2. Wreck, the solo A player, falling back as they're playing retake A against the Pistols. I think they know there's a potential for an overwhelming push out, and Manx isn't really in a position to help out with Wreck. He is essentially a solo A player because the donut guy doesn't come into factor until the players are already swarming the site. And even then, it might just be better to wait for reinforcements at that point. There's one from Temple. Now Manx can start to make an impact too. He'll line up a 3-piece as Wreck is still alive as well. Praying in Temple. He doesn't take any damage. Manx takes one little tiny bit. And Stanislaw out towards middle, trying to get lucky against Slacks. But the Opper just moving around. It's going to come down to timing here. And he's made noise. He's making all the noise now, expecting players to be down bottom mid, but Stan's just waiting for the door. Somebody to push in towards middle from mid-house. I don't believe that's going to be granted to him either. That's the other thing here, Nate, because they know it's just a pistol. They don't need to hunt this. M80 are not the kind of team to hunt against the Pistols.
They aren't. Slacks holding his line. Wasn't expecting the close angle, but still finds success in spite of it. 5-6. M80 have recovered what was a disastrously slow start. 6 seems like a distinct possibility given the momentum, and you mentioned Wildcard were overdue for a timeout a couple rounds ago. They will use it now. They will spring it now. Rifles coming through. Infinite, Sonic, JBA all have AKs. Stanislaw should follow suit. Slight might go for the op, but I suspect maybe an AK play would be more fitting in a round like this. M80. They win this round, they'll tie it back up at 6 apiece, and they'll have that requisite 6 you mentioned was necessary. Wildcard, if they win it, they finally find their footing yet again and maintain a shadow of what their lead once was.
A shadow indeed. And a long-forgotten memory, potentially, after this round, depending on the result. We might end at parity here in half number 1. And again, this was the pick of M80 after destroying Wildcard on their own pick of Nuke. We see a much more tight affair here. It was a 4-0 start and a 6-1 scoreline. It's been 4 in a row for M80, looking to make it 5. The utility incredibly lacking for Wildcard here as we reach the minute 30 mark. Bomb left back towards T-spawn. Defaulting and playing for picks. The mid-aggression from Manx just transitioned into a donut play. Malbs has just spotted Stan as well. But he uses that flash to get away from that smoke, away from the open. Take up a more defensive position. Manx going back out middle as well. Has to be careful. Sonic not spotted, but there was the second player there in Wreck. Swisher does trade back onto 1, but Swisher has a second too. Infinite strikes, but it's Infinite versus Swisher now. And Swisher be swishing all over the map right now and towards middle. Might just have a third. He does indeed. Mikey popping off here, looking for the 4th, but Slight will bring it to a 2v2. 3 is enough to bring it back for M80. They just need the last 2 remaining to close it off. Malbs and Slacks. Slacks has been spicy. Malbs hasn't had too much over the course of the game, but he's had a nice little pop here and there. And all they need is 2 more kills, Nate, and it's a 6-6 half.
Malbs has definitely had his moments. They just haven't been given to him too often. That MP9 round comes to mind. He is going to be in a position now to potentially find something. He's on A, outside Temple. Wildcard, though, splitting the difference. 10 seconds left. They're going to go towards B from middle. Steps are heard by Slacks. Going to fight the aggressive angle. 1 found. The op duel won by Slight, but is there enough time to plant? There is. 5-4. That should be plenty. He'll get it to dirt, and Malbs won't be close enough to punish. The issue is now Slight has a plethora of angles to worry about. He'll slink in towards long. Malbs weary to walk, but timing's everything, and Slight has the kill. Wildcard retain a narrow lead as we head into the break. We'll see you on the other side.
It's been a streaky half for both Wildcard and M80. A fast start for Wildcard. M80 brought it close, but not to a level score line. Boggs and Pineapple Phillips with you on the call. And folks, this is just Series 1 of the day. Liquid Boss completed. It was a 13-5 on both maps in favor of the North American Dynasty squad and Liquid. And now the winner of this will play the old guard. We might see a wild card boss a grudge match, Nate. Those ones always get a little spicy, a little personal for one of those two teams. But looks like we do have a delay to start this one out, as we're not done with map number two rather, and we're not even starting half number 2 yet, because this game really wants to drag on, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It will go kicking and screaming, I think is the best way to put it. It will not go smoothly. If anything is to be gleaned from that first set of delays that we had earlier today, it totaled like something like half an hour. Of course, we're always going to roll with the punches, and this does give us some time to talk about the later stages of that map as well. M80 slow starts do end at least at somewhat even footing, but a good clutch in the end from Slight by virtue of a timing. This is a very different M80 from what we saw in map number 1. It's also a very different wild card as well. M80 beginning to have individuals flourish. We're talking about Swisher, that 3K in middle, a couple lineups as well for him, Manx and Slacks as well, holding down the A side in different rounds in their own right. Whereas Wildcard, far more aggressive, far more directional, far more decisive in their play, and that decisiveness has led to some decisive victories. Say that a couple times fast. Wildcard looking incredibly solid, looking like a very different team, and rectifying a lot of the shortcomings that they had in that first map of Nuke.
I think that's been the biggest story of this map number 2, is Wildcard fixing most of the issues they had on Nuke, on the T side. We didn't really get to see their CT side all that much. It went 0 for 5, if memory's, or 0 for 6. No, yeah, 0 for 5. I was right the first time. But they never got anything going on their CT side, and we never really were able to see what it was capable of. But now we're going to see them actually tested on the defense. They didn't have time to adapt to what M80 can usually offer on this map, or on their CT side in general. But what I will say is that Wildcard, it took them really long to make the adjustments needed on their T side. It shouldn't have taken them until map number 2. But now that they have made that change, will it lead to something better? Because now, with Anubis' possible map number 3, if it does go all the way to the end, this one gets just more and more up in the air, I feel. If this does go the way of Wildcard, Anubis, it's a clean 50-50.
Yeah, especially given the last time they played it again, it was a double overtime, very tight-knit map. Over, no, was it Vertigo that was double overtime?
Regardless. No, it was Anubis.
Was Anubis?
1917.
Okay. Say all three maps were close regardless, but Wildcard did win it in the prior engagement. Another question that I have just for the immediate map ahead of us is, how is their CT side? Because we didn't get to see nearly as much of it on Nuke, granted, because they didn't have much time at all. They had such a poor start on the map. They only had 5 rounds to play, but they lost every single of those 5 rounds. They lost the pistol. They lost basically everything from then on out. They showed us nothing that was promising, and the stats, I believe if the stats are being recalled by me correctly, this should be a map where Wildcard are weaker on the defense as well. So a lot of questions for me.
36.8 CT side.
Okay, so I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad. That is a different level of bad than what I was expecting. So Wildcard need to come out with their best foot forward. Hopefully they've made some changes since the last time they played this map. And honestly, given that stat line, hopefully they win the pistol round as well, because if not, this could be M80 steamrolling over in the second half of the second map.
It definitely has a lot for Wildcard CT side. It not only their lives in the series, but I think too just how fast they can adjust, because we saw that very slow adjustment on map number 1. A map they picked. Again, I feel like that's a big storyline. They destroyed Noun, so they're thinking, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to pick it. But also, M80's style of play is very different to how Nouns play. And it's taken Wildcard a bit to get out of that doldrum and into this series. The individuals are starting to find form. Slight was very good on the T side op. I'm expecting to see a better performance on the CT side from him now that it's easier to get those kind of kills. Infinite starting to heat up. JBA's been solid. Sonic and Stanislaw were going aggressive, and Stan in particular was doing really well at gaining ground on the sites. But going into the CT side, how are they going to get those players activated again? Especially like Stanislaw, where most of his success was predicated by going aggressive, going through smokes, or going very early into a site and catching people in setup.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of it was him taking initiative, getting aggressive. Again, that change on their T side is what they needed on Nuke, and it's what found them success here on Ancient thus far in the first half. How can they translate that? Is it aggression towards middle as the call? Is it aggression maybe towards Jaguar, maybe towards Donut, or even in towards A main perhaps? There's a lot of ways you can go to get aggressive calculatedly on the CT side, and maybe even towards the B ramp is another possibility. We've seen flashes work there for Mulbs in this very same map. So there are still places where that aggression can work out. It's all about how Stanislaw wants to translate it into the CT side. Does he want to fall back to a more traditional CT side, run defaults, go for a probe here and there, or does he actually want to take that initiative? If I had to guess, he should be taking the initiative. He should be trying to catch M80 out and get them uncomfortable. But again, might fall back onto those older tendencies that we saw in the first map where they just really don't work as well as you would hope in CS2.
Another thing, too, is that Wildcard barely pressured the B side at all in that first half. Most of it was A and mid. There was maybe 2 rounds at a B end. Maybe 3. I think it was 2 at most. And it's just, I wonder if M80 are going to take advantage of that and try and pressure B side a little bit more. If memory serves me from what I've seen of M80's T side on Ancient in the past, they like to go for a lot of Snake and Jaguar control. So how is Wildcard going to be prepared for that? Were they prepared for the Ancient pick? What kind of prep has been done leading into this map? And now with this extra delay, who knows if there's a little extra prep going on here? Because, I mean, there's a lot of time that is now being taken between half 1 and half 2. And there's plenty of time for conversations to go through and to figure out what is going to go on, what they want to do to counter things. And it's not just Stanislaw who's a veteran presence in that room. There's Sonic who's been around the block quite a bit, and I would expect him to give his 2 cents as well.
Yeah, I think a lot is up in the air, honestly. It's all on how Wildcard want to play it more so than how M80 want to play it. This is a map where M80 are the known quantity, and Wildcard should have to adjust accordingly. I feel like M80, again, still have that advantage. We talked about it. They should have a CT start that is in their favor, and while it wasn't as ideal as they could have hoped, again, you mentioned 6, 7, maybe even 8 could have been a possibility. 5 is still more than serviceable. I think Wildcard, to get the ball rolling on this, what, as we saw from the stats, is a rather difficult CT side, they need a pistol round. I feel like that is what's going to get the gears turning. If they don't get that, I feel like there's no momentum. Everything gets kind of stymied, and M80 can smother them from there. So a lot, in my opinion, rests on the outset of this one. If they can't find that pistol round Wildcard, they might just slump into an 0-2 loss in the opener, in the debut of this IEM Chengdu North American Close Qualifier.
Now, the one silver lining of the elimination match later tonight is the fact that it won't be Liquid they're up against. Anybody's up against in that elimination matchup. But folks, it looks like this one is going to take quite a bit more time than expected. So we are going to go back to the break here, and hopefully things will be fixed and ready to go when we come back. So don't touch that dial. M80 Wildcard, half 2 of Ancient coming up right on the other side. Well, here we are, and we're live into half number 2 at long last. It's Boggs and Pineapple Phillips with you on the mic. And folks, this pistol round critical for both sides. More so for Wildcard, as their chances in this series rest on this one map to bring it to a third, which would be Anubis. M80 with that 13-4 trouncing victory over Wildcard, and the nuke to open this one up. Slight in towards Cave. There's 2 on the dual Berettas. Infinite has slacks on a plate. And Wildcard CT pistol round is going as they could have written it up. There's a dink and a kill returned by Mulbs onto Slight. But the chances that M80 can get back into this round far out of the reach here. Especially now that the bomb is down in a very difficult to recover position. The smoke makes it a little bit better though. Wreck has dashed around and through it. Bulbs needed that pick onto Sonic, but it does not come. And in this 2v4, there's not much M80 can do unless they get a little bit of luck.
Choke point, nothing much they can do. Good swing from Infinite off the contact. JBA maintaining control with the USP up close and personal as well. Mentioned the pistol round felt like a must win to get the wind in their sails for Wildcard. Otherwise, they might have just been smothered. At least they say they did indeed win it. 8-5 is now the score. They begin to rebuild a bit of a lead. M80 didn't get the bomb plant either. That means they're going to be on a save. It's Glocks across the board, not a dime invested for the T side. Wildcard. Go for an SMG-centric round as well. 3 MP9s. We've typically seen a rifle-heavy second rounds from the pistol victors in this series thus far. This is a departure from that trend. We want to harvest some cash and quickly. Slight tag down quite low, needs to be careful. Thanathal is also now very mortally wounded, as is JBA. 2 kills go the way of Wildcard unanswered, but Mulbs finally puts one on the board. JBA another, but Slacks trades it. Things are getting a little bit costly now, as Slacks, the last alive, is the one to fall. 2 kills, though, is a meaningful damage. Couple that with a bomb plant, and M80 are going to have a pretty solid buy going into the third round of this half.
Yeah, the bomb plant is definitely a very good result for M80. I think it's more than they could have expected realistically given the clock round. They got a bomb plant and 2 kills. That's solid. And for Wildcard, they're going to get some rifles up now, but that does force 2 players to buy down to 0 left over in their bank accounts, Nate. So, if M80 can win this one, or get a bomb plant and at least keep this one to like 1 surviving Wildcard member, there's a road back into it. But Wildcard need to keep this victory clean if they do get that win. That's the other side of the coin here. With Stan and JBA so low on residual money, there's no real wiggle room for casualties. Flash into 3-man stack towards A, and fast rotations are coming through. Infinite, there's 1. Sonic's nade does get another one, and he'll finish off the third player in with the M4A1 spray. Slacks and Mulbs are flamed away. It's a complete and utter collapse by M80. They go in and they find zilch. 0, nada. It's looking like we're going to Anubis sooner rather than later, Nate, because Wildcard look a completely different animal here on Ancient.
M80 uncharacteristic, strung out, focused, hyper-focused in the back of sight. Sure, they know there's a player there, but they're disregarding the rest of A. That's a lot of map to expect no one lurking. Shutout on A leaves Slacks and Mulbs, the last pair alive. They do have, or they both have had decent individual performances on this map thus far, but not a chance in this round. They're already calling it quits. They've called it quits for about a minute at this point. Mulbs and Slacks will save an AK and they're not for the following. That speaks to the dire rounds that they find themselves in. 10-5 will be the score. 3 rounds separating Wildcard from victory on their opponent's map pick. Wildcard, flawless thus far in this round, looking to hunt now, wanting to drop these rifles. Infinite taking point out A main, clearing out the meddlesome angles, the corners, the cubbies. He'll run in, trying to get in front of that flash. He won't be successful in that endeavor. Mulbs will win the day there, but a whole fleet of players have come in response. Sonic gets the trade. Before time expires, that's good for Mulbs at least, and Slacks will survive in round number 15, keeping his op in play, but what can they buy around it? At this point, they almost feel compelled to go for the investment because Slacks has no money left in the bank. Saving your weapon means you get 0 in loss bonus. So they will buy what they can. 3 Galils, an AK. Sparing utility. Wildcard. Heavily advantaged at this point. If they win it, it will be 11. The economy of M80 will be reset. A lot rests on this round going forward for M80.
Malbs does get the opening. Slacks might find another. Takes a shot through that smoke, but it's Manx to swing out through. Traded by Slight. No return frag, and Swisher caught out by Stanislaw. Infinite out towards Snake as the opportunity to strike, and he will do just that with a double spray down. Looking for the last in Malbs, but it looks like M80 going out with a whimper here in map number 2. Anubis should be where we finish things off, unless Malbs can pull off the impossible. The bomb's down. He does have time, sure. 1v3 with bomb where it is, just outside cave. Yeah. It does not bode well for M80. And Wildcard. Never mind. Hold up. No, the crossfire here. There's no way Malbs gets out of this. There's no way he can get out of this. Surely not. He's 1 HP. Oh! He's got it all! Malbs, are you kidding? How does he get through that crossfire?
How is he given that by Stanislaw? How is he given that? Stanislaw should be swinging immediately. Instead, he waits 3 seconds when he could be expected and swings out, hoping to find a timing, hoping to catch the player as he sneaks in towards cave. Stan, the whole point of that setup was to swing off contact. The whole point of that was to play it together. The IGL of all players should know that, and yet he takes the fight after the fact. He gives Malbs away back into it. You mentioned that was an indomitable crossfire, and it very much was, and yet, nonetheless, M80 make light work of the round. Malbs stealing it away in a 1 versus 4 fashion. And now a lot is up in the air. The economy of Wildcard is thrown awry. There's MP9s on the board for JBA and Sonic. M80 have the better of the buys in this one. If they can win this, then they can really begin to stabilize their economy. Sonic, though, cheeky with the SMG, finds 1, upgrades, and finds a second. Infinite as well, drops Manx. Swisher finally finds inroads in response, but somehow, even given the lackluster investment, Wildcard emerged with a 2-man advantage. Cheeky boost from Stan and his compatriot in towards cave, yet to be spotted or unseated. M80. They were given a boon, a chance to come back into this one, and it feels like it might have just been squandered in this round.
Unless it's Swisher time. It was Malbs' time, and Swisher's in a 1v4. Sprayed away at and finished off by JBA. Malbs' heroics, all for naught, as it's 1 right back by Wildcard. No cash for M80. But a 4 spy, most likely forthcoming indeed. That will be the case. Wildcard, turning things around. Infinite, Slight. Those have been the big names for Wildcard here. And it's 2 of the names that we mentioned in the pre-show, particularly Infinite, that are bringing them back into this series. Molotov burning out the cubby, if there was anybody there. And it's do or die time for M80. It's been close. They've been on the tightrope for a while. And there's not much room left for them. They're teetering on the edge.
Pistols can still do damage, though. Issue is Slight is here, and his op is not missed on this map. There's a menace on the T side. JBA. Conspicuous off angle there. Nade's now thrown in for a quick play towards B. JBA falls back. Slight is unseated by Swisher. Swisher doubles down on the entry. That's the site cracked wide open. Bomb plate can go down. Some rifles can be recovered as well. M80 aren't done playing yet. They still have some fire at their disposal in the form of Swisher.
And Slacks has picked up that AK. The Deagles are still out in hand, and Wildcard's economy is not that strong, so they're going to wave the white flag and go for a strategic retreat. They're not going to contend the rest of this round. The gap will close to 4, and M80 again finding some leg to stand on. Not much of one, but again, it keeps them in this game. It keeps Wildcard off of map point. And that's the other thing to keep an eye on. How close can M80 get before Wildcard reach 12?
Or survive. Malbs only has a Deagle ashore, but Saving that Kevlar for the following is pretty important. And Wildcard's economy is slowly being whittled away. They're going to scrounge together a buy now. Pretty solid one at that. MP9 for Stanislaw. M4 surrounding. Kits. Utility. Overall okay. No op, though, for Slight. M80. Win this round to reset the CT side economy, excuse me. And you have a plausible way to get back into it. It'll be an 8-11, then likely 9-11. And it becomes far more feasible, especially if someone else can wake up. We've seen Mobs show us inklings of it. He looked very solid. Slacks as well in the first half with good Swisher. Just couldn't highlight him. He's caught out. JBA pressuring in towards Snake, finds the opener. Pressure's on the rest of the roster now. Swisher can't do it all.
Well, Rek tries to go for a fight, but he's caught by the second swing. Does a decent amount of damage, but it's not enough yet. In comes the push. Malbs will get one, but he has no support. The Flames will help out, and Manx does not expect a rotation in through CT. Slacks is dinked on retreat, and it looks like Wildcard will grab 12, unless a 19 HP Opper on the T side of Ancient can pull off the impossible. He will not. Slight might be in there in time. No. About a second and a half too far to get that AWP back. The money again for M80 low. And Wildcard able to stack these rounds up. 5 map points for Wildcard on their opponent's map pick. No op for Slight might not be a problem. 2 AKs, 1 Galil, a Tech, and a Deeg for M80. An okay amount of utility, but no Molotovs, no HEs. That could be an issue. And some decent nade damage onto Mobs, albeit only on the Deagle. Never count out his Deagle. We've seen his crisp aim with the AK throughout the course of this series so far. Wildcard going aggressive again, looking for these fights. Swisher lurking around. Jaguar. Mobs. This is that first shot. He's actually team killed by Rek. And this throws the whole round on its weird head, and JBA gets backstabbed by Swisher out middle, who might just get a second kill as well. Slight going for a fight. He gets domed. And somehow, some way, M80 find ways back into rounds, back into this game. It's all up to Stanislaw here, who might just save himself.
We should save in this one. 1v3. Slacks on this flank in towards B. Probably unexpected by Stanislaw. Oh, timing just in his favor, though. 9 HP. He'll survive by the skin of his teeth. 8-12, though, guaranteed at this stage. No doubt. Stanislaw will be allowed to save his rifle as well. M80, though. They've done well to find rounds that look implausible or look unlikely, but right when you think they have some momentum, right when you think they're cooking, they put out the flames. They lose the round immediately thereafter, and they're back to square one. They have to prove this one wasn't a flash in the pan. They won the round. They need to get 4 more to tie it up and go to overtime, and they know the pressure. They know the second round is always the hardest. They immediately call a tactical pause, talk out the buy, talk out the strategy, because they know they're on the cusp of something. If they can win this round, they very likely reset the CT economy. And from there, the comeback seems far more feasible. From there, you can get momentum. From there, you can stabilize.
And from there, you can get to overtime. Ancient is a map which has led to some very good overtimes. I always go back now to that IEM Dallas semifinal phase mouse, right?
Because we were there.
Yeah. And that was one of the best overtime games of all time.
Yeah, that was definitely a sensational one to be there for. Surreal. Wildcard, bite the bullet now. They're not going to invest in this round, round number 21. Instead, they're going to go for a save, making a difficult yet prudent call, and I can respect it. Eagle, 5.7, P250, USP, and AK. 5 unique weapons for 5 unique players. M80 don't want to get aggressive in the slightest. Cover their bases, run their default, and that is to their chagrin. Stanislaw timing out towards ramp. Vibes is what he's playing by, and his vibes will net 2, maybe even a third on the Swisher if he plays his cards right. Wildcard are making something out of nothing yet again, and it feels like this second round curse from 80 is more than just a curse.
Why is Slack swapping to utility there in the middle of the fight?
It wasn't fighting, it was a timing.
Well, he made contact
behind,
and swaps to util. Smokes in on B. M80 are going to try and bring this back. They have the firepower advantage still, despite not having the man advantage anymore or even level playing field. But another good fact for M80 is the fact that those dropped guns are so far away from the site, it's inconsequential at this point. But there's a very reasonable possibility Wildcard can overwhelm the site, take it over with these pistols. They do have a kid on Stanislaw as well. They're trying to bait out the pushes. There's one from Malbs. In comes another from him as well. Make it 3. Slight strikes back. Sonic with another. It's all up to young Rek. Rek versus Sonic. Sonic so low, but he has that kit. Holding the bomb, sticking. He pops off, and Rek will put the 1 round required to finish the job. M80 escape with victory in that round. What a costly victory it was, though. But they have broken that second round curse. Can they string more together? Timeout called by Wildcard. Op back into the hands of Slight. Rifles on everybody. I don't know if JBA... Okay, JBA will have a rifle. Stanislaw will be on the MP9, despite his heroics. Living on love, buying on time in the last round, Nate. And M80 still in this very tumultuous sea, not able to stabilize anything properly, but finding ways to scrape away around.
That's something, I suppose. But things only get more difficult from here. As you mentioned, their economy is now hamstrung because only one player survived. That leaves Manx on just the Galil. Utility is okay, but still not flawless for M80. A couple players missing a piece or two. Actually, just Slack's missing a piece, excuse me. But the big differentiating factor is that Op on Slight, and sure, the MP9 on Stanislaw leaves a bit to be desired, but that was to maximize Slight's potential in this round. We know Slight can be a menace. We saw what he did in the first half, and he's atop the board for a reason. He's tied with Infinite for a reason. It's because he can hit these Op shots.
Aggression out Jaguar. Backed up by JBA. Looking for that pick. The two B ramp holders very far removed behind the doors. Incredibly passive T side from M80 here. They're baiting in the aggression. And this is the kind of adaptation we didn't get to see from Wildcard realistically throughout the course of map number 1. And here, what we're seeing now is M80 trying to make an adjustment based off of how Wildcard have played this game. So much control towards B and towards mid with Slight's Op watching in towards that run. There's the shot on the Malbs. Manx is out as well. But Swisher falls to JBA. The control, the map control. It's all falling into place for Wildcard. Manx 1v5 to a 1v3, but it's not to be. 13-9 on map number 2.